If you would like to know what the evolution of the human consciousness is in this age of Aquarius, as well as the science of regeneration and rebirth of the soul, then you are in the right place. As always, welcome to the temple. Welcome back for those who have been here before. And as the title implies, we're going to be exploring this new Age of Aquarius concept where the ancient mysteries and ancient techniques of times long forgotten are going to be applied and practically used and utilized in a scientific way for this new age. So without further ado, let us get into the matter. Firstly, concerning the nature of the rebirth of the soul as well as the evolution of human consciousness, one might consider the process of water evaporation into a gas. For instance, a body of water, such as during the warmer months of spring and summer, evaporates into the atmosphere due to the solar radiation from the sun. This liquid from below turns into a gas, and this gas rises into the upper atmosphere where it eventually forms into rain clouds. In esotericism, rather, the bodies of water on Earth are exclusive to the planet, and they symbolically represent the human emotions, while the upper atmosphere or sky represents the heavens or the human mind. So, when viewed through a symbolic lens, the waters of Earth, or human emotions and intuition, evaporate into a gas which rises into the heavens where it meets the human intellect, resulting in a creative burst of energy. This, quite basically, is the science of human regeneration of the soul and evolution of consciousness. So, to break that down, we begin in our physical bodies. Okay, so that would represent ice, the nature of water when frozen in ice into a physical form, and all the things related to physicality and materialism. What we're concerned with, rather, in this video is the next two, the watery emotional body and the airy gaseous mental body. So if you looked at the human body, the middle part where the heart is located, that would be the water body. And the upper part, the head, would be the mental body. So we're concerning ourselves in this video with the water and the gas, or vapor, rather. Now, comparing it to the ages, the previous 2,000 years belonging to the age of Pisces was mostly about the element of water. Pisces, for example, is a sign of the water element, making it heavily related to the emotions, intuition, even wisdom. While this may seem positive in many regards, there is also a negative side related to intense passion, devotion, and wrath. So if a lot of people who did not handle the Piscean energies or waters effectively, a lot of them gave into intense passions, overly devoted ideals, and sometimes even full-blown wrath. For this reason, the previous 2 millennia of humanity have been heavily influenced by war, conquests, overly zealous religious pursuits, divisions amongst peoples, beliefs, and societies, primarily due to the over-impassioned nature of religion and the once immature concept of love. Humanity had not evolved yet in their idea of love yet to be able to truly grasp what it really meant. One could even go as far as saying that during the age of Pisces, love was perhaps our greatest enemy, because while it may have meant well for us, it also had a dark side, or an immature side, underdeveloped side of it. But now, as the age of Aquarius is moving in, the ruling signs element is of air, and it is now coming into focus. The element of air is about the intellect, consciousness, creation, at least mental, human creation, not God creation, innovation, and mind power. It is related to science, technology, philosophy, and imagination, while straying away from the darker side or darker depths of love, particularly the overindulgence of it, but rather seeing ever more the need for a more universal type of love, one that sees no bounds or divisions, only unity and equality. So this is saying that instead of seeing the lower nature of love, which gives into impulsive passions and lust and desires. It sees rather a more universal love, a love that exalts itself up into the mental region of the human, where it merges with the air and becomes expanded in a universal type of love. In this age, Aquarius, humanity will begin to shift away from the religious persecutions of old, tearing down the old dogmas of human isolation, division, and etc., and control, especially control of those systems, and finally see the bigger picture, that we all come from the same source and all belong to the same collective, which makes up the mind of the living God. Much of this Aquarian truth still remains in mystery, but will definitely be touched upon later. Now that we have examined both the age of Pisces as well as the age of Aquarius, we can begin to relate them to the regeneration of the soul and evolution of human consciousness. For example, while the age of Pisces was represented by the water element, it also corresponded to the human emotional body, as discussed before, which is in the region of the heart. Then, the age of Aquarius, which is represented by the element of air, must correspond to the human mental body, existing within the brain. So from one age below, the next is directly above, if that makes sense. If you put the ages back to back, we would have Pisces right here in the heart, and then Aquarius up here in the head, while Taurus and Aries were down in the lower regions. So you can even take this back further. The age of Taurus, which is the earth element, took place in the human physical body, or the root of the physical body. Hence the Buddha rooting himself upon the ground by the fig tree. While the next sign over, Aries, represented by the fire element, took place rather in the solar plexus, which was like the gateway, which served as a gateway into a brand new evolution of mankind, but only offering a brief glimpse to the newly found Aryan race, while still blinding them to its ever-glowing splendor. But it was this point in time in Aries when humans such as the Buddha and Aryans were only just beginning to leave their animal consciousness behind and truly see what it meant to be human. That is, what it meant to be a being capable of true love. The idea of love, leading up to the transition into Pisces, was simply an expression at this time, not completely physical, but more of an idea and less of like an actual emotional experience. This might perhaps be why fathers used to trade their daughters into marriage in the form of dowries, accepting cattle as a fair bargain, while their daughters went off with some man they had never even met before, because back then, well, love was more of an expression and less like the love that you and I would recognize today in our current modern day society. No, this love, the love that we know, is the kind the age of Pisces introduced, especially through its reigning hero, Jesus Christ. But the special kind of universal love that he taught, however, was soon lost upon his own death, because the ones who would distort his teachings and see only a lust for power, wealth, and control would soon take complete ownership of his movement. Therefore, they would lose the universal love that he taught and go down into a more underdeveloped, immature concept of love, which, as discussed, gives in to passions and lust. Impulse, rather. As a matter of fact, Christ was more of an Aquarian than a Piscean, really, because what he taught resonated more with Aquarian ideals and less with overly zealous, cynically impassioned madmen belonging to the Piscean age, with all their wars and genocides. Aquarius is about reclaiming those lost fragments of the ancients, recompiling, especially the ones of the ancient universal love, recompiling those truths together and recognizing that we are all divine, containing that very spark of the infinite source within all of us. It is about the rejection of external religions, forms of worship, and systems of regurgitated dogmatism, especially the ones who stray us from our true godlike inner selves. You see, the original Christ taught that religion was a lie, that it was all a bunch of hoarding money changers who sought to exploit the innocent by limiting their own souls and keeping them away from connecting to the living God. He taught that no, their God is a God of lies and deception, but rather his God is beyond and far above them. And all it took was a simple journey within, not through going to church every week, not through giving your money to spendthrifts, but by overturning them and seeing your very own divinity within, which connects you directly to the source of God himself. Christ even taught that you should not even go through himself, rather, because that would only get in the way. Instead, he told his people to leave his ways behind, leave his teachings behind, embracing your only God connections, and go off, as he said, and be perfect, which your connections to the God source are personally tailored to yourself and full of much more wisdom than he could ever offer. This is what he taught. Leave his teachings behind and go and be perfect. His general teaching was that the road leads back within yourself and no other, not even him. No other God, king, lord, guru, or master, but you exclusively. You are taught to be the center of your own world and the center of your own universe, with God himself as a witness, and no one else can take that divine right from you. So as I always say, they say the age of Pisces was the age of the fisher of men, rather, while the age of Aquarius is the age of the water itself. So as I always said, why buy the fish when you can get the water for free and it belongs solely to you? Or why go through someone else, a middleman, or someone else, when you can go straight to the source itself and get 100% pure spiritual goodness? To go through someone else would only be getting in the way between you and your inner God self-realization. So the transition from Pisces into Aquarius is really a fascinating time to be alive, because it literally combines heaven and earth together. For instance, while Pisces represents the water corresponding to the heart center of man, Aquarius is like its divine counterpart, representing the air, which corresponds to the head center of man. But the two of them, in fact, were meant to be together, united, because they are both one and the same. To put it simply, the heart center represents earth, while the head center represents heaven, or the skies. And this belief goes back all the way to the very beginnings of time. In ancient Mesopotamian mythology, which is the oldest form of belief on the planet Earth, heaven and earth played a huge role and were even seen in the form of an intimate relationship. So the head and the heart were seen in a very intimate relationship. For example, their god, Anu, was the god of the sky, and his name even translates into heaven, while Ki, his wife, was the goddess of earth. And together they produced children, the Anunnaki, which through the birth of their main two sons, Enlil and Enki, in this case Enlil became separated by his winds or air. So when their first son Enlil was born, he represented the air, and he unfortunately represented or resulted in the separation of the two of them, of Anu and Ki, or heaven and earth. And thus heaven and earth were divided. But Enki, their second son, Anu's second son, was born of the very waters below, offering earth a chance for redemption and reintegration. So Enki was born so that he may teach mankind, or teach the earth, how to reconnect with heaven, its long-lost lover, Anu, and merge once again. So from their birth, Enlil became the god of earthly rule, control, restriction, and limitation, while Enki, his brother, became the god of freedom, liberation, and redemption. So while one was controlling, incoherent to wisdom, and only seeing domination and control through tyrannical power, the other brother was teaching wisdom, the arts, and sciences, promising his students a return to their divine establishment, which was in the separated heaven. Interestingly enough, in much later Grecian times, the name Anu was seen yet again in the new name, the Greek god Oranos, whose name just so happens to also translate into heaven. And he, Oranos, rules the planet Uranus, which is the ruling planet of this Age of Aquarius. No coincidence there. Are you now seeing things coming around in full circle? Like all the way back to Mesopotamia and beyond, we're just now coming a full circle around into this new way, this new Aquarian way. In Greek mythology, Ouranos, heaven, and his wife Gaia, who was the earth, also had an intimate relationship. And this time around, the heavenly god Ouranos swore to never release his grip from his lover, proclaiming instead to trap his unborn children within the realm of Tartarus, never to give in to the impulsive desire of external procreation, while in turn would result in the separation from his wife. So this time, Ouranos, or Anu, saw the mistake, and he decided to never let his children be physically manifested on the physical plane, because that would only lead to the separation of him and his wife. So after all, this would only result in the separation of heaven and earth, right? But alas, for one of their elder sons, Kronos, upon receiving his mother's wishes, decided to castrate his father, spilling his father's blood and semen across the land, which ultimately resulted in the production of Aphrodite, goddess of the foam, or planet Venus, and the rest of the grosser Cyclops and Hecatoncheires. What Ouranos must have thought is that his and Gaia's initial firstborn, the Titans, must have been the most perfected and heavenly forms of himself that he could possibly generate, while the next seeds of his loins may not have been quite so much. But his wife demanded them, even instructing her most powerful son to get the job done. That god is the god of the cycles of time, restriction, and limitation too. So then he must have been the actual god to complete the desecration of the light from heaven and the separation of heaven and earth. Because when time finally showed up, it created the cycles, and the cycles trapped that heavenly seed and spirit into matter, and that matter became trapped within a cross or a cube, as some of the ancients would call it, and the light would be forever descended and degraded down on the physical plane, waiting for anyone to discover it and redeem it. So everything we have learned thus far is to serve as a reflection upon the current age of Aquarius. First off, we should not and do not need any other human being or beyond to lead us back into our truly divine selves. All attempts would only be to serve as middlemen or people who attempt to take a cut or portion from our otherwise divine source. No, the source is meant for you to be accessed 100% in all its glory, and to have some middleman around is to only be denying yourself of what you rightly deserve, your very birthright. Secondly, when you fully connect to that source, it is like the oceans, rivers, and seas all dry up, because the source of light is so powerful that the waters of your emotional body and intuition instantly evaporate, all leading and rising up as a gas into your brain, where they meet the flame even more so, multiplying themselves exponentially and concentrating the energies of this newly precipitated substance, the same substance which was trapped down on the physical plane. So this process actually joins the heart center and the head center together as one, which is the merging of both heaven and earth, because the twin serpents or flames, at least of our Kundalini, who once existed below in the plane of water, are now transubstantiated into a form of spiritual matter, and then alchemized upon the mental plane, where the physical body has been sublimated into the brain, and both the head and the heart are joined in one intimate synthesis. This is where the heart, or earth, becomes exalted above into the mental plane, resulting in the opening of the crown region and allowing light to pour in from the pitcher of water above the Aquarian man, and the intellectual activity to become enlightened and awakened. So finally, upon the achievement of this scientific process, the child of light is born in between them both, in between the heart center, or mother of earth, and the head center, father in heaven. So they coagulated, and in between them, they transmuted their substance into the form of a child, the child of light, who serves as the link between them both and combining them. This is why the child forever remains at the center of the father and mother, because he is the culmination and synthesis of their energies. You will never find the child on the outside of the father and mother. No, he will always be at the center and always serve as the linking chain between them both, for he contains the perfected balance of their once opposing DNA. So that which is between the two is made of pure light and pure perfected DNA. This newly born, regenerated child, which takes place within, whether it be a newborn baby on the physical plane or a freshly regenerated soul upon the monadic spiritual plane, it is all the same rebirth. And for example, snakes constantly shed their skins, and so do humans. We constantly shed previous bodies and forms of ourselves, whether we know it or not. Even every day. Every day, the person you were the night before is slowly beginning to shed and discard its previous self. That's consciousness, pretty much, due to shifts in consciousness, social norms, or just complete, otherwise spiritual realization. Either way, we are constantly shedding and killing off previous layers of ourselves and skin, only to embrace the revitalized, reborn, regenerated, and renewed versions of our true selves. So is it any coincidence that the name Anu and the term anew happen to be so related? This new child, being invented in the mind of the father as well as the heart of the mother, becomes a new center of its own. That's kind of how regeneration works and rebirth works. When you have achieved regeneration, you form a brand new center, and that's the newly born child within. So it becomes a new center of its own, originating first within the throat center, where the divine word was first known. So the heart and the head, right in between them, is the throat center. So this divine sound or voice was to become the very link between the chains of heaven and earth, thus bridging the two realms together and serving as the cornerstone which connected the skies to the ground. So the voice is literally connecting and serving as a bridge between the heavens and the earth. So from it comes the true light and wisdom. But it is because of this linking effect. There cannot be, is purely because of this linking effect, right in between as the center. There cannot be a father of mind and mother of matter without a linking child of spirit between them two. Or there cannot be a mother of realization and father of absence without there being a child of light reflecting upon the darkness of his own mind or consciousness. It all goes back to the mother, it all goes back to the father, but the one is only realized in the child, for he is the true light bearer. So the Aquarian age will have the process of regeneration basically down to a science. People will begin understanding the law of evaporation of the physical substance below and its precipitation in the brain in a very practical way, as well as learning to redirect the energies into the voice in the form of the spoken word, where it becomes the sacred word of God. Interestingly enough, the spot located right directly behind your mouth at the base of your skull is referred to by the Hindus as the mouth of God. So, and it is also the location of the medulla oblongata, which controls much of the brains and motor skills of the person. Also the voice, when it finally discovered itself in the secret word, it said, "Let there be light." So the light descended down from the spiritual plane down into the physical plane, and the heart, at that time unknown of itself, became redirected and inverted down below into the lower physical regions. And this is where we came out. And from that point in time, with every realization, a new awakening of our minds, we have established higher and higher centers or expanded centers of our own consciousness and awareness. That's the evolution side of it. So with each new center that we formed, we have also created new childs of light, new children of light, as well as ourselves. We have also become light bearers. So eventually we get to the point where we see the heart that it was inverted down in the form of impulse or desires alone, and we learned to redirect its energies back upward, which sends the substance of matter back upwards and sublimates it from the physical plane, converting it and evaporating it up into the mental plane, where it meets our divine God minds once again and multiplies itself and results in even greater regenerations of our souls. And then there, the child of light is born yet again, forming yet another brand new center. We live in a time where the water is always flowing from the pitcher down into us. So the light, the water is light, and the light is always constantly flowing downwards into ourselves. And all we have to do is take its energy and redirect it back upwards to send it back to its place of origin. If it's always facing down, we have to be the ones to show it the way back up, where it can see its point of origin in the source and carry us up along with it, where we become awakened light bearers. So in this age of Aquarius, we all have the divine right, we all have the ability to become awakened as light bearers and to spread the wisdom contained within it. Because of that, because the waters are always flowing, all we have to do is tap into it. So here's an interesting fact to close the video. The Statue of Liberty, for instance, you know, the one with the crown of spread beams, I call them light beams. Initially it was made of bronze, and it was like an orange, almost reddish shade. But over time, the waters surrounding the island of it became evaporated up. And so over time, as the waters became evaporated up, it changed the color of the Statue of Liberty into this bluish green color, which is quite funny, because the blue-green color is the shade of the heart chakra, green, and the throat chakra, blue, being combined together. So symbolically, it's the heart chakra being exalted and raised up, or the matter of it at least, into the throat, where it transforms and forms into this bluish green color. And then this color is, as we discussed before, the throat between the heart and the head is the bridge between earth and heaven. So it would seem like the Statue of Liberty, when the light was issued forth through the sound, it fell down below, and through the process of light refraction, it reflected into the sphere of the universe, and all crossed together. It all formed cross patterns of light, just like the top of your head is in a concave shape. When the light hits it, it results in light refraction, where all the shades of the light are crossed together. This is the production of matter. This is the cross, the normal typical symbol of the cross. This is all 7 colors of the rainbow being crossed together down into the plane of generation and physical embodiment. And it's also the inverted direction of the light. So when we discover that, and we learn to shift its focus back above, to revert it back to where it once belonged, we are sending all the cross patterns and emanations back above, and then they form the crown of liberty, which is all the light united side by side and standing as one unified whole. You can even see it in the forms of birds or angels. When they're directed down below, their wings are folded when they're facing down, or they're in a state of rest. But when they are seeking to return back to the heavens or back to the skies, they unfold their wings and then spread them, and they become aligned yet again. So everything facing down Even flowers when they're budding, they haven't fully bloomed yet. They sit just like this. They sit crossed because they're still facing down into the plane of generation and the plane of matter. But when they finally fully bloom, due to the abundance of light and phosphorus from the sun or from the light source, they spread their buds, or their developed buds, and then bloom out once again into unity, this one unified whole. So take that as food for thought, but it is also the science of regeneration and the science of evolution of the human soul and consciousness, soon to be realized and implemented in this age of Aquarius. So as always, have a great day, like and subscribe, and come back next time for more.